Welcome to the third episode of the BrightGen Media Podcast series. In this podcast, I interview leaders within the media industry about the challenges and success stories. I'm your host, Jana Hlistova, and I look after BrightGen's customers in the media industry. BrightGen is a leading Salesforce partner with experts across industry and Salesforce products. We have a particularly strong customer base in the media industry, having served in this space for over 10 years. Our customers include Condé Nast, Springer Nature, Elsevier, and Immediate Media. You can find out more about us on our website, www.brightgen.com. In this episode, recorded at the end of November 2021, I interviewed Vicky Nisbet, who is Area Vice President for Comms and Media UK at Salesforce. Vicky has a 25-year career working in IT, helping customers achieve business transformation through human capital management, enterprise resource planning, and more recently, customer relationship management, CRM with Salesforce. Salesforce is the global leader in CRM, bringing companies and customers together in the digital age. Founded in 1999, Salesforce enables companies of every size and industry to take advantage of powerful technologies, cloud, mobile, social, voice, and artificial intelligence to connect to their customers in a whole new way. Companies trust Salesforce to help them transform their businesses around the customer in this digital-first world. I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Vicky, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. It's a great honor.
Now, we're going to be talking about Salesforce, of course. We're going to be talking about digital transformation, data, and more. But before we do that, I'd love it if you could share a little bit about your journey to where you are today and why work in the technology industry.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one. I'm not sure it was a deep, thoughtful process, but let me share my journey a little bit. So I've actually been in this business now for over 26 years, which, to be quite honest, just makes me feel really, really old. And I definitely don't have a traditional route in. So originally, I did law at university. Probably because I liked an argument or winning an argument, which probably still works today in my current role. And I took a very long route round. I went to Australia for a year. I didn't know what to do. I, was very much experiencing life. But after graduating, decided I didn't really know whether I wanted to go into law for a profession, so get a job. And shallow as I am, I thought I'd quite like a car, so why not get a job in sales? Because you get a car when you're in sales, and the rest really was history. I went to a recruitment agency. They offered me a job. Turned out I loved sales. It was definitely my vocation. And then from there, I was, after about a year, recruiting for another business, and they offered me a job, which I accepted, and they were an HR and payroll outsourcer. So that was my first leap into technology. And it was a real eye-opener for me, really, to really begin to understand the power of technology and how it can really help and underpin change, business change, which is the thing I'm interested in, is really about what businesses are, what they do, and how we can utilize technology to change. So I was there for about 10 years, went up through the ranks. I was a trainee. I did larger sales. I did new business. I did everything and ended up in leadership. Learned an awful lot through all of that, but then decided, given I had quite a few life events, I got married, I had 2 kids, I got divorced. And so by the time I was in my mid-30s, I thought, right, I need to go out on my own again. I went back into being an individual contributor and decided to sort of up my game, if you like. And I saw at the time Oracle and SAP being at the very sort of pinnacle of IT sales and how we can help transformation. So I got a job at Oracle. Again, huge learning for me. And I think all through my career, learning something new at every change has been what it's all been all about. So that was a great period of my life. I learned so much, probably as much out of the things that I lost as I did from the things that I won. Then SAP came knocking. I decided that I would go and try the blue team for a while. And that was a really, really good move for me, because I then had the opportunity to move into more generic leadership. So I'd had HR and payroll as a specialism, and I'd really had a lot of comfort about knowing my topic. So I was quite scared really about leaving that and going into something that was end-to-end ERP and really technology for businesses completely. But I jumped anyway. I decided that there was no way I could back off from the opportunity. Worked for SAP in that area for about 4 years, and again learned so much. And it was really about diving deep into customers, what they were doing, how they were running their businesses, because technology really is an enabler. It's no point just chucking technology at things. You have to really understand the business process and how the people are and how the processes are to enable the technology to really work. And then companies like Salesforce were changing the game at that time. SaaS was becoming a really big thing, and Oracle had just launched their cloud ERP. So they'd lost a couple of deals to us, so they came and approached me. I went back over to Oracle, again, helped them on their transformation internally to go from a sort of more traditional ERP vendor into a cloud vendor. And then finally, I ended up at Salesforce. And I wish so much that I'd made the jump earlier, because it's such a great company to work for. I've been here about 3.5 years now, lots of different roles. The culture is great, the product's great, the customers love us, and we love them back. It's really, really great to be here. So it's a bit of a windy journey to get to where I am now, but that's my story.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful journey, Vicky. Now, for context, as the Area Vice President of Comms and Media at Salesforce, what are you responsible for and what do you do day to day?
Well, it's quite the title, isn't it? So I think I've had a few roles during my time at Salesforce, but the change that I've really seen over the last 3 years is a shift to be very, very industry focused. So I run the telco media industry within Salesforce, within the UK. And what that actually means is that we are a business that's based on being exceptionally customer focused. Our products are really strong, but we really need to make sure that we understand the industries that we work with, that from conversations with our customers, we know the trends that are out there, we know the impact that's having on our customers at the moment at that time, and therefore we can really, go deep and advise people as to what to do and how to utilize and make the most of the technology. So on a day-to-day basis, I really try my hardest to spend as much time with customers as possible. It's very much still at the very heart of me and what I love. So I never really want to be very far from the front line. And then outside of that, it's working within the business to improve the solutions and become a lot more industry focused. Make sure our messaging is right, because we have a lot of customers who have invested already in Salesforce. And so it's very important that we help them unlock as much value as possible from the money that they've spent.
And how do you define or think about the comms and media industry in Salesforce at a high level? So, how big is the market, for example? What's the growth you're seeing?
Well, uh, I love actually my role, and I think I'm really, really lucky with these industries. They are quite mature within Salesforce, and we have a good, strong presence. So across media and telco, most of the B2B businesses use us. We have a strong customer base, some excellent references, and some really, really good relationships. But then if you look at the flip side of that, the challenge is then, how do you continue to grow the business? How do you deliver to Salesforce the ask of growth year on year? So we really, really have to work hard with our customers to build out their utilization of Salesforce. If you think almost our strength is our weakness, we're very well known as being Salesforce automation, but that was 10 years ago. We've changed dramatically since then. So a lot of what we need to do now within the industry is to share how we've gone beyond just sales into the end-to-end customer journey. So we really need to help people build on their investment, share with them how much we've changed over the years. We've changed both organically and through acquisition. And so we're constantly trying to update our messages and take that to the market. For example, if you take our recent acquisition of Velocity, which I think happened beginning of this year. It's been great for my industries because it's very telco and media specific. And so what it's offering is a an industry-based solution that can give you best practice business processes specifically for the industry. So for media, we have solutions around ad sales, around subscription management. And the beauty of having an industry-based solution is that the benefit to the customer is the speed with which they can utilize the technology. So the journey to benefit for our customers is much faster because they're able to take it out of the box, implement it in a slick way, and really get to benefit from it. We had, for example, one customer recently, actually on the telco side, who managed to stand up a MVP, minimum viable product, in 2 months, which is quite phenomenal that they'll be able to get live in that period of time with an industry-based solution. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, that is really impressive. Now, the media industry has gone through a lot of change, and we continue to see this disruption as a result of the pandemic, too. What are some of the key challenges for clients? So, publishers, for example, advertising agencies, broadcasters right now, and how might these challenges represent opportunities?
Well, the one thing's for sure is the pandemic has changed everything, changed everything for good, I think, actually. The world with which we live in now is going to be different. And so we really need to understand what that impact has. Interestingly, it has, across my industries, different impacts in different areas. And media as a whole, you can imagine, from uh, broadcasters being hugely important, through to events businesses not able to run events. So how can they stay alive and keep making revenue when 80% of their revenue has just stopped overnight? So if you take the broadcasters, for example, streaming became our trading commodity. I don't know about you, when at work there would be WhatsApp groups going on and going, "Oh, has anybody got a box set? What can we watch now?" Comparing all the streaming platforms, and content was very much king. So it's about finding ways that our customers can take that content to market. So as a rule, I think media have been a very early adopter of technology, and we've got a lot of customers that might have invested in Salesforce 10 or 15 years ago, but things have moved on from there. So now we're trying to work with them to look at how their business processes should run with modern technology underpinning it, rather than sort of just uplifting what they're doing now and putting new technology under it. Actually, that end-to-end process needs to be reviewed to make sure that it's the right process moving forward. The speed with which technology is developing is just phenomenal. We have got a bit of a good story with an existing customer of ours, Audio Boom. They're actually a podcast platform, and I don't know about you, I love podcasts, and certainly during the pandemic, my daily walks would be listen to a podcast of lots of variety. But so they understood they needed to create an internal platform to enable their podcasters to grow quickly, but also to monetize on their content. And they built a bespoke solution utilizing Sales Cloud, which actually enabled them to sell 1.6 billion advertising impressions for over 300 advertisers on hundreds of shows worldwide, which is quite a phenomenal
That's very
achievement, all
impressive.
during a
Yeah.
pandemic. Yeah, absolutely. With publishers, it's different again. I think we're seeing a big shift as to how they interact with their customers, and more people are trying to utilize a subscription model and get customers to stay with them. I think consumers are very impatient, aren't they? And so if it's not personalized and it's quick and very modern technology, they're often doing something else. So we have different stories with them.
So the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation for many clients, and we know it's not always easy. What, in your opinion, did clients do differently during the pandemic, which brought about the change much more quickly than usual?
It's an interesting one, this one, because the pandemic did have a big impact, and for sure it has accelerated digital transformation. However, I would say that was a big topic before we went into the pandemic. The big difference for me has been the speed with which we've had to react and do things. So speaking to companies has meant that they have to make decisions quickly. They didn't have the luxury of running a 6-month process where they could evaluate all options out there. Actually, the decision had to be made now, and we had to utilize all our support to enable them to achieve what they were setting out to do. So it was very interesting. I think probably what we did was how to pivot with our customers to enable people to work from home, enable an immediate change. And what we're probably seeing now, with a little bit of luxury of time as we accelerate out of the pandemic, are different conversations where, if, for example, you think that what companies did was they lifted their current processes and they enabled people to work from home, but they stayed the same. What we need to do now is make sure that they're doing the right processes, because as we move forward, we need to work in a hybrid world. So we need different, again, we need some in the office. As you can see, I'm in the office today, but then 3 days a week I'm working from home. And so I'm having to adapt my work life. And it's the same for all of our customers. We need to make sure that they have the right technology in the right place to enable these changes in the way that we work and the way that we interact with our customers moving forward.
Well said. Now, Salesforce enables the customer 360 experience. Can you talk us through a client who is doing this really well right now, and what was their journey to get to this point?
I think at Salesforce, customer 360 is our vision. Okay, so if you look at how we work with our customers to get them closer to their customers, lots of customers in our conversations, as you can imagine. The customer 360 is at its very core. And what we mean by the customer 360 is that we bring teams together. So whether you're sales team, service, marketing, commerce, any team that touches the customer, we bring them together on a single platform with a single view of the customer. So if you can imagine that you're a salesperson, you're about to go into a meeting with a client and they have a big outage of whatever it is you sell. Half an hour before you walk in, and normally you'd walk in there into an absolute barrage of what's going on, and you thought it was going to be a lovely positive meeting, but actually the customer is not in that place. They're not receptive to it. With our customer 360, we give the salesperson the ability to have a look on their phone as they park their car before they go into the meeting, find out what's going on, what's the latest. And because there's the integration between sales and service, the salesperson can see there's been an outage. They can see what their service agents are doing about it to try and rectify it. They then walk into that customer meeting. And what they then do to it is they can proactively speak to the customer by saying, I understand you're having a bit of a problem. Let me bring you up to date with how we're dealing with it. We expect it to be resolved in 30 minutes. And even that alone will mean that, you're bringing a totally different vibe to the meeting and the customer. And all that anger will have diffused and gone elsewhere. And the feeling of trust and confidence will be elevated off the scale, because I think it would almost be a shock, wouldn't it? It's not what you'd expect when you're in the midst of something going wrong, to have somebody so understanding and proactive with you. So we have this at the moment with one of our B2B media customers. They're live with service sales. They've got linked cases across sales and service, seamless journey planning. And I think the utopia of it all is almost to take their service center and make it a profit center. And by that, I mean, we utilize the technology that when people have got issues and problems, their service agents can actually sell solutions to them or generate leads that end up going to the salespeople. So it becomes a real benefit to have proactive sales agents on a single platform through the customer 360.
What you just said made me think of an example specifically for media. So, with publishers, for example, they might have a customer who buys a magazine, so they're a B2C customer in that sense, but also be a B2B customer because they attend industry events. And being able to identify this individual as one person as opposed to two, and understanding all the different touch points and talking to them in the way that's relevant using Salesforce is also really, it's a great example.
The amount of data we get and the amount of data we use and the inability to personalize our interactions with our consumers is so important now. And I think we're still trying to learn to make the most of that, really, particularly with the changes that are coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Which leads on nicely to my next question about data and data strategy. We know that data is the heart of every business, increasingly so. So, how are clients thinking about their data strategy and how are they executing on that, in your view?
It's an interesting one because you say that data is at the heart of every business, and I really do think it is, but I think it's a problem that we haven't solved yet. I don't know the stats, but the volumes of data that we generate are just crazy, off the scale. You can't really get your head around it. So it's less about what data we can get, because we have plenty of it, but it's more what do we do with it? It's multiple sources. There are data lakes. So I spoke to one company recently and suggested they even start with a data puddle because they really didn't know where they were going with it. Um, and for me, I think it's how do we collect the data, make it usable so that we can interrogate it, and in a way that doesn't stop at the first question. As a consumer, you need to know not just where I am or on a particular date, but what I'm doing, how I'm going to interact, what I would normally like in that situation, so that you can then be a lot more proactive and really, really push stuff at me. So the key is clearly to ensure the data stays identifiable, the customer can be who they are, but it's used in the right way to personalize experiences. And then by doing that, we sort of earn the right to more data. So it becomes like an infinity circle that we take the data that we've got and we utilize it. I think it's going to be really difficult with the removal of third-party cookies. I don't know about you. I am already being a little bit choosy over which cookies I accept and how I interact with people online. And this, for me, is the challenge for our customers, because as a consumer, I want a personalized experience, but I only want it the way I want it and when I want it. So I get a little bit fussy about what data I share, and then I'll get a little bit upset if nobody's chasing after me in a very personalized way. And I think our media clients have a real challenge on how do they bring this together? How do they really make it and land the experience that I want when I'm really, as a consumer, quite fickle?
And again, there is that focus in media companies on needing to build personalized digital experiences. And I think a lot about how important it is to build communities. This idea of brands, brand equity, and online users and customers being loyal to brands, that's key, right, for media companies. Are media companies getting this right? And how can they do this better, do you think?
I think they're doing a good job. As I just said, I think the challenge is how fussy we are as consumers. Plus, we also are very, very technology savvy. I think for the first time, our consumer grade technology is far away and above business grade technology. I remember 15 years ago where you'd go to work and that was the best technology you'd have. I used to show my kids and they'd be, oh my God, that's amazing. But now they're sort of like, oh, you mean you send emails? They are so far beyond where I am now. And as a result, they create their own communities. So Facebook, Instagram, actually, they probably don't even go near Facebook anymore. It's all about TikTok,
Maybe
isn't
they
it?
do.
So when you've got, I know, I have no idea about TikTok. I confess, I do not have it, thankfully. There'll be no funny dancing from me. So I guess the challenge for our media customers is how do they actually embrace those different communities? How do they harness it really? And we're seeing lots of different behaviors that actually we need to collect and communicate with different non-traditional areas and sources of data. I think where it's becoming really fascinating as well is in the sports industry. So sports also comes under me as a sort of media and entertainment. And as you can imagine, during the pandemic, it hit them very, very hard. You couldn't go to a football match. There wasn't a football match on TV or anything like that. So now that we're coming out the back end of it, everybody's ecstatic, but actually the number of fans they can engage with is actually quite limited. So we're talking to quite a few different sporting businesses around how they can improve that fan engagement, how they really harness those that are fans, but also they get those sometime fans. I think fan by definition, a fanatic, they're always going to follow. Man United will always get the fans, but they want that middle ground people, those occasional viewers, those occasional people who visit the stadium, and really actually utilize that data to make the difference, to grow that fan base and really give a good fan experience.
Now, AI and machine learning is increasingly integral to our lives and obviously to our business lives and experience as well. How is Salesforce using AI and machine learning to enable intelligent information and insight for clients? And why is this important?
A lovely topic, isn't it? AI and machine learning. I think the true definition for me is the machine learning. The fact that we have technology that can remember what we've done before, what our sales agents have done before, our service agents and our customers, and bring it all together, that makes sense to me. And as a business, I would want to know that. I would want to utilize it. And it really does change the way we interact with technology. Because by doing that, we've generated more data, but what do we do with that data? We actually change that into predictive actions, predictive analytics. So if I were to give you an example of sales forecasting, it's always the fine, mysterious, dark art, isn't it, as to what salespeople say they're going to do versus what they actually do. What we do within Salesforce is we have Einstein Analytics, which takes all of the behavior of the salesperson, all of the behavior of the customer, and puts it together to be able to give out a sort of a score or a prediction as to whether that business will close, whether the customer is the customer that does lots of investigation and needs to know everything and then gets to the end and doesn't do anything, or maybe the salesperson is maybe overconfident and maybe it says things that happen when they don't happen. You put the two of those together and you can have a more realistic view of your forecast and what you're going to do. The beauty of it, and this is why I think it will really, really just go stronger and stronger, is it's never ending. It's only ever going to get better. If you imagine you implement something like Einstein for predictive analytics, the worst it's ever going to be is day one. It just is going to get better and better every day that you use it because it takes more data, more behavior, and is able there to predict more accurately. And fundamentally, as businesses, we need to know what's going to happen. You know, the beauty is actually in being able to predict as accurately as possible how we're going to land, what our revenues are going to be, and therefore how we can decide to change or course correct if we're maybe not landing in the right space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with AI, the beauty of it is that it takes away a lot of the manual effort, the boring tasks. So, you know, people can focus on the more creative, the more intellectually demanding work. So those two work hand in hand, which is nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. We had one customer, it was a B2B customer, and their sales agents reduced the time of preparation before picking up the phone by 40%. Because a lot of the information was pushed at them. They knew where they were going, they had to do less research. That's 40% more time spent actually talking to customers, trying to generate revenues. It's quite a huge impact, isn't it?
Absolutely agree, Vicky. And you're also the chair of the Equality Board in Salesforce for the UK and Ireland offices. Can you talk more about that? Why is D&I important? And can you share some of the initiatives?
It's been a great honour actually to be asked to be chair of the Equality Board. I think as a woman in this business, I've seen it change quite dramatically over the last 26 years. I won't share any of the horror stories, but there are plenty. And thankfully, we're in a world now where I'm happy that I've got two daughters that I can be sure that when they're in the workplace, it's a better place than where I started. So it's important that for me, as a woman in leadership in this business, that I leave the place better than I found it, if you like. And I think at Salesforce, as I say, with our culture, equality is one of our core values. So it's important that we are aware of it, but that we actually continue to try to improve it. So we do a lot with our different supporting groups for underrepresented groups. And I think we have a lot of very enthusiastic employees that really want to help. What we've done with the Equality Board in the UK and Ireland is to harness that enthusiasm, if you like, into some really clear actions monitored with clear KPIs so that we can understand that we are heading in the right direction. I think this is the most diverse place I've ever worked, but it doesn't mean we're there. It's a journey, not a destination, isn't it? We're never going to go, oh, tick, we've achieved it now. Everybody's equal. So we need to continue to ensure that we've got the right working environment to achieve equity for everybody, regardless of their background or where they're from. So we have a number of work streams that we are working with to improve four main areas, really: hiring people, promoting people, developing people, and rewarding people. And so under those work streams, we have different initiatives, such as ensuring that the hiring process is more inclusive, the job adverts are worded correctly. We're starting a system of buddying up, so when people are going through the process of hiring, they can speak to somebody from a similar background who can advise and guide them. And through that, we're getting more of a success rate, that people are passing the panels. They're not feeling it's intimidating, or they're not able to perform at their best and fall at the last hurdle. So it's things like that, as well as working with different groups out in the wider marketplace to really make sure that we are, yes, we're good at this, but we need to be better, and we need to keep working to make sure that we can provide an equitable working place.
Well, it's very inspiring, and I think with DNI, as with sustainability, for these initiatives to be successful, you really, it has to be led from the top. And I continue to see that at Salesforce. So I think it's really inspiring for the community, for clients, for partners like BrightGen. So thank you for that, Vicky. Now I'm coming on to my final question now, and I do want to say thank you for sharing everything you have today, for being so open. There's definitely loads of food for thought. So my last question is about innovation. Salesforce continues to innovate, and we know just how and why that's so important, because as Salesforce innovates, so can its customers and partners. What message do you have for clients who are thinking through their innovation strategy and approach? We live in a very disruptive world, full of change, full of challenges, but opportunities as well. So how can clients stay ahead?
What a question. What a finale. It's a tricky one, that. I think probably, I think two things I would say on that. Firstly, I would say engage with us early. Okay. I think one of my most frustrating things being in this business is that we are treated probably not even like a vendor, but as like a bidder, particularly when you get RFI processes, etc. And the customers that we try to work with feel that it's appropriate, or they need to keep us at arm's length until they've got to the point of choosing us and contracting with us. And I would say, please don't do that. And the reason for that is that I speak to customers every day who are going through some sort of change and utilizing our technology to do that. And that all of those customers have done things right, they've done things wrong, we've worked with them well, we've done things wrong. And I can share all that with my customers from a very early stage in the process. So it's a huge resource that's available to customers that I don't think gets utilized enough. So absolutely engage with us. Invest the time with us, and the project will be more successful. And we really don't mind spending that time with you, even if you don't choose us, because at least we then know that we've given it our best shot, we've given all the resources we can, and we've shared as much as we can to make that project successful, which is fundamentally what we want to do. The second thing that I would say is digital transformation is becoming a little bit of a monster. It's an overused phrase. It means different things to different people. And I think it can be really off-putting. It almost sounds like you're climbing a mountain, and that's not what you want, right? It becomes too big a job. You put it off until tomorrow. We all do that as human beings. It's just natural. The diet starts tomorrow kind of thing, isn't it? So I would say maybe not look at it and view the project as a digital transformation, but maybe an evolution from where you are now to where you want to get in the future. Engage with us early and we'll go on that evolution together. We try to design our projects and our solutions around achievable milestones with our customers, and at each milestone they achieve some benefit. So it feels very successful from the start. There's no long wait. We're engaging with people. We can deliver benefits to our users straight away. It's an iterative process. And if you see that as an evolution, it's much easier to embark on an evolution than it is to think of a huge transformation. So those would be my two little gems as to how to approach and consume innovation. And don't stand still. We're all moving forward, so let's just move on together.
Yeah, that's really well said, Vicky. And just to add to that, I mean, to your point, we want to engage with clients really early. It's because we need to understand the business, the strategy, and the business process, which you touched upon. And oftentimes, it's time to update the business process. So, the sooner Salesforce and your partners engage with clients, the sooner we can really understand what's going on, and we can work with clients to map out what the future can look like, and how technology can underpin that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you very much for inviting me today. It's been lovely to catch up.
It's been lovely to chat. Vicky, thank you so much. And no doubt we will be seeing you very soon. Bye for now.
Yes, absolutely. Bye.
Thank you again to Vicky for her superb insights into the media industry and the discussion around Salesforce. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Do follow us on social media, and you can visit us on our website at www.brightgen.com. Until next time, goodbye.